Single dad cried in the ER at midnight, until a billionaire widow said, "I know that pain too." The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital emergency room buzzed overhead as Mark Jenkins paced the worn linoleum floor. His 5-year-old daughter Emma lay on a gurney behind thin curtains, her small body racked with fever that wouldn't break. At 42, Mark had faced many challenges, but nothing compared to raising Emma alone since his wife's death 3 years ago. Tonight, watching his daughter struggle to breathe, he felt utterly helpless. "Mr. Jenkins?" The doctor's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "Emma's pneumonia is more severe than we initially thought. We need to admit her immediately." Mark nodded, his throat tight. "Will she be okay?" "We're doing everything we can," the doctor replied, her expression carefully neutral. "The next 24 hours will be critical." As the medical team prepared Emma for transfer to the pediatric ward, Mark stepped into the empty waiting room. The clock on the wall read 12:17 a.m. The weight of everything, the medical bills piling up at home, the sick days he couldn't afford to take from his construction job, the constant fear of failing his daughter, crashed down on him. For the first time since Sarah's funeral, Mark broke down completely. He didn't notice the woman who entered the waiting room until she was standing beside him, offering a tissue. She was elegantly dressed despite the late hour, her silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a simple knot. "I'm sorry," Mark mumbled, embarrassed. "It's been a rough night." "No need to apologize," she said, her voice gentle but strong. "I know that pain too." Something in her tone made Mark look up. Her eyes held a familiar grief, one he recognized from his own mirror. "I'm Eleanor Winters," she said, taking a seat beside him. "My grandson was just brought in with a broken arm. Skateboarding accident." Mark introduced himself, grateful for the distraction. "My daughter has pneumonia." Eleanor nodded. "Children have a way of terrifying us, don't they? My son and his wife are out of the country. I'm the emergency contact." "It's just me and Emma," Mark said. "Her mom died 3 years ago. Cancer." Eleanor's expression softened. "My husband passed 5 years ago. Heart attack. One moment planning our anniversary trip, the next moment, gone." Mark hadn't expected to find understanding in this sterile waiting room, especially not from someone like Eleanor, whose designer watch probably cost more than his monthly rent. But grief, he was learning, was a universal language. "How do you do it?" he asked. "Move forward." Eleanor considered this. "One breath at a time. Some days that's all you can manage." A nurse appeared, informing Mark that Emma was settled in her room. As he stood to leave, Eleanor handed him her business card. "If you need anything, anything at all, please call me." Mark pocketed the card without looking at it, thanking her before hurrying to his daughter's side. The next 3 days blurred together as Emma fought her infection. Mark slept in an uncomfortable chair, leaving only to shower in the hospital's family room. His boss's patience was wearing thin, but Mark couldn't leave Emma. On the 4th morning, while getting coffee from the hospital cafeteria, he finally looked at Eleanor's card. Eleanor Winters, CEO, Winters Foundation. A quick internet search revealed what Mark hadn't realized during their midnight conversation. Eleanor Winters was the widow of tech mogul Richard Winters, and now ran both his charitable foundation and his business empire. Forbes estimated her worth at over $3 billion. That afternoon, as Emma napped, a knock at the door revealed Eleanor holding a stuffed elephant and a basket of food. "I hope you don't mind," she said. "I asked about you at the front desk." Mark welcomed her in, watching as she placed the elephant beside Emma's sleeping form. "How is she doing?" Eleanor asked. "Better. The antibiotics are finally working." They talked quietly as Emma slept, sharing stories of their lost spouses and the challenges of moving forward. Mark admitted his financial worries, Emma's medical bills, the mortgage he struggled to pay on a single income, the college fund that remained empty. I never wanted to be a charity case, he confessed. Sarah and I had plans. We were going to give Emma everything. Eleanor's eyes were kind but firm. Accepting help doesn't make you a charity case, Mark. It makes you human. Before leaving, Eleanor mentioned a program through her foundation that assisted single parents with medical expenses. No strings attached, she assured him. Just one parent helping another. 2 weeks later, Emma was back home and recovering well. Mark returned to work, surprised to find his position had been upgraded to project manager, with better pay and more flexible hours. His boss mentioned a recommendation from someone with influence. That same day, a letter arrived from the hospital. Emma's bills had been paid in full by an anonymous donor. Mark called the number on Eleanor's card that evening. "I can't accept this," he said when she answered. "You already have," Eleanor replied. "But if it makes you feel better, I have a proposition for you." The Winters Foundation was launching a new initiative focused on supporting single parents. Eleanor needed someone who understood the challenges firsthand to help develop and oversee the program. "I'm not qualified," Mark protested. "You're exactly qualified," Eleanor countered. "You have the one thing my team of experts lacks, lived experience." 6 months later, Mark stood beside Eleanor at the launch of the Winters Family Support Initiative. Emma, now fully recovered, sat in the front row beside Eleanor's grandson, with whom she'd become fast friends. The program would provide medical assistance, educational support, and career development for single parents across the state, with plans to expand nationally within 5 years. Mark, as program director, had helped design every aspect. "When my husband died," Eleanor told the gathered crowd, "I had resources that cushioned the blow. But money doesn't heal grief. Community does. Understanding does." She glanced at Mark. "Sometimes healing begins in the most unexpected places, like an emergency room at midnight." That night, after tucking Emma into bed, Mark sat on his porch looking at the stars. He thought about Sarah, about how life had veered so far from their careful plans. He thought about Eleanor, who had turned her own pain into purpose. His phone buzzed with a text from Eleanor, "Committee meeting tomorrow at 10. Bring Emma, Tyler's asking for his hospital friend." Mark smiled. The path forward wasn't the one he'd chosen, but perhaps it was the one he needed. Eleanor had taught him that pain shared could become purpose found. That sometimes, the deepest wounds could connect us to exactly the people we need. 1 year to the day after their emergency room meeting, Mark and Emma joined Eleanor for dinner. As Emma and Tyler played in Eleanor's garden, Mark and Eleanor watched from the terrace. "You know," Eleanor said, "Richard always told me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in impact." Mark nodded. Sarah said something similar. "She believed we were put here to lift each other up." "Smart woman," Eleanor replied. "I think I would have liked her." "She would have liked you too," Mark said, and for the first time, the memory brought more comfort than pain. The Winters Family Support Initiative eventually helped thousands of families across the country. Mark and Eleanor became not just colleagues but friends, united by shared loss and a commitment to transforming pain into purpose. And it all began with 2 strangers, a midnight conversation, and the simple, powerful recognition, "I know that pain too." If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content that reminds us we're never truly alone in our struggles. Share in the comments if you've ever experienced an unexpected connection that changed your life. Sometimes our greatest blessings come disguised as our darkest moments. New videos every week that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the power of compassion. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that might just be exactly what you need to hear today.